Today we're in Yazoo City, Mississippi to see what we can see. Come along with us. Let's go explore. The Sam Olden Yazoo Historical Society Museum is a great place to start. But first, let's pay our respects to Skipper. We'll learn more about him in just a bit. The museum is located in the old Main Street School. When this school building was in use, students would have sat in desks like these. Notice the holes in the desks used to hold their ink wells. I think they do a great job of presenting the history of the school and its faculty and showing you some of the things that would have been very important to students back in the day. I don't see a Chromebook or an iPad anywhere. Around the corner you find this portion of petrified wood that was found in Tinsley, Mississippi, estimated to be 37 million years old, and quite an impressive display of ancient marine life fossils found in Yazoo County. You know, I don't think about dinosaurs being in Mississippi, but these are fossils of a Basilosaurus, a shoulder and an entire vertebrae found in Yazoo County. Next, we're going to look at a nipple tooth and a mastodon leg bone, also found in Yazoo County. The Choctaw used Yazoo County as a hunting ground. Yazoo City was originally called Manchester, and an auction sale of lots was held in Manchester on February 22, 1830. A chartered steamboat brought potential buyers, docking at the foot of Main Street and used as a floating hotel. And in 2 days, most of the choicest real estate had been sold. But this is a model of the Choctaw, one of the last steamboats to operate on the Yazoo River. The museum has lots of great artifacts, including the butter churn you see before you, a yarn winder, and the spinning wheel, and my favorite, this old primitive sausage stuffer. In May of 1846, the U.S. Secretary of War requested that Mississippi's governor provide one volunteer regiment of 1,000 men for the war with Mexico. This would be 10 companies of 100 men each. The Yazoo Guards were formed with John Sharp of Benton as its captain. They were chosen as Company A of the Mississippi Regiment under command of Jefferson Davis. Let's look at a punt gun. This gun was used in a punt boat, which was a small flat-bottom boat used in shallow water. It was mounted in the bow of the boat, loaded with powder and lead shot, and fired into a flock of ducks on the water. It could kill 20 to 40 ducks with one shot. They were usually made by local blacksmiths, but were outlawed in the early 1900s by wild gaming laws. The next thing I want to point out to you is this vacuum cleaner. I suppose by maybe turning the handles and pulling up on it, you can create a vacuum. What a neat artifact. Next, you see things that you might have found in an old country store. As you look around the old country store, I need to remind you that in 1841, the citizens of Manchester decided to change the name of their town and voted to name it after the Yazoo River. Thus, we have Yazoo City. Notice this old refrigerator and the old phonograph or record player next to it. And yeah, I need to remind you, if you like this kind of content, hit that like button. Let's look right over here in the corner at this old dentist chair. Through the years, Yazoo City struggled with yellow fever, probably mostly because of its proximity to the river. In 1853, they endured a severe epidemic with many of their leading citizens dying. Here we find our World War I memorabilia. We have a German and an American helmet, a rifle, knife, and my favorite, the gas mask. John Luther Casey Jones was a famous American railroader who was killed when his passenger train collided with a stalled freight train at Vaughn, Mississippi, here in Yazoo County. Casey was noted for being incredibly punctual, sometimes at great risk to himself. On the night of his death, he was running the 10-wheeler engine, the Cannonball. Yazoo City endured not only yellow fever and the Civil War, but the Great Fire of 1904. Pay particular attention to those wooden water mains. The town was replacing those and could not get water pressure to even throw water on the first floor of most buildings. The fire was rumored by some to having been caused by a young boy playing with matches or by the Witch of Yazoo. You can learn more about her in another one of our videos. Only 3 buildings were left standing downtown, as the fire burned a path 13 blocks long and 4 blocks wide. On July the 21st, 1977, President Jimmy Carter held a town meeting with the citizens of Yazoo City. He was an overnight guest of his friend Owen Cooper, as they were both prominent lay leaders in the Southern Baptist Convention. These furnishings are from the bedroom where President Carter slept. The Great Flood of 1927 was one of the most destructive river floods in the history of the United States. 27,000 square miles were covered in depths of up to 30 feet of water over the course of several months. Many people had to live for lengthy periods in relief camps. Randall Pinkston is a native of Yazoo County, and he was also an anchor for Al Jazeera America. Before that, he served as the White House correspondent in CBS's Washington Bureau. We have an excellent outline of big events in Yazoo County history, like the first football game in Mississippi high school history between Yazoo City and Winona, the first city-owned streetcar system in Mississippi, and the first oil well at Tinsley are some of my favorites. Bentonia blues is a unique and sort of mystic kind of blues that was born in Yazoo County in front of the Blue Front Cafe, which still stands today, and it's the oldest juke joint in Mississippi that is still in daily operation. Jack Owens, Tommy McLennan, Skip James, and Gatemouth Moore are all fabulous blues musicians who at one time called Yazoo County home. Not only has Yazoo County been home to the blues industry, but also filmmaking industry. My Dog Skip is my personal favorite of the movies that were filmed here. Let's see if there are a few more you recognize. You'll notice Ghosts of Mississippi, starring Alec Baldwin, Whoopi Goldberg, James Woods, and Craig T. Nelson. And also, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, starring George Clooney, Holly Hunter, John Turturro, Tim Blake Nelson, and Charles Durning. Next, we have Jerry Clower. He was a stand-up comedian born and raised in Mississippi. He was probably best known for his stories about the rural South, many of them centered in Yazoo City, Mississippi. He was nicknamed the Mouth of the South. Now we have Willie Morris. He was the author of the book My Dog Skip. Remember Skipper, the memorial stone we saw out front? Willie is one of my favorite authors, and if you've never heard of him, do the Google. One of my favorite Willie Morris quotes is here on the wall. It says, "If there is anything that makes Southerners distinctive from the main body of Americans, it is a certain burden of memory and a burden of history. I think sensitive Southerners have this in their bones, this profound awareness of the past." Colonel John George Quackenmeyer was a native of Yazoo City. He graduated high school there. He attended the University of Mississippi and then graduated West Point Military Academy in 1906. He was awarded the Distinguished Service Medal, and this is his West Point cadet uniform. He was closely associated with General Pershing. At one point, he was Commandant of the United States Military Academy. This is what I call the Haley Barber Room. Mr. Barber was governor of Mississippi from 2004 to 2012. He was also chairman of the Republican National Committee from 1993 to 1997. In this room you find mementos and memorabilia from his vast political career. My favorite piece is this guitar. I recognize Governor Barber, but I don't know these other two guys. Anybody that does, leave a comment. As we leave the museum, we walk by this 1904 buggy, and you'll notice they have some pictures on the wall of the buggy in use on the streets of Yazoo City. Hasn't transportation changed? Before we leave the grounds in and around the museum, we're going to take one last look at the old Central School building, which of course is where the museum is housed. In the flood of 1927, the water would have come up to just about the top of those concrete steps. I want you to pay particular attention to the height of the windows off the ground of the public library that's next door. It and the school building were spared from the Great Fire, but not so much from the flood of 1927. Maybe even a little better perspective is gained by looking at the church across the street. The water rose up to just about the bottom of the windows. Folks, that much water will change your life. Before we leave Yazoo City, I want to take a tour down Main Street and show you a couple things there. Yazoo City is a microcosm of the entire state of Mississippi. Its people have impacted the world in many different ways, from art to entertainment to movies and politics. I really like what they've done with Main Street with the vibrant colors that seem to bring out all the architectural accents on each building. There are many shops here on Main Street that you can find all kinds of stuff if you're ever in the area. Remember when we talked about the movie Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Well, in that movie there was a bank robbery scene, and the bank that they robbed was the one that you're looking at now. It's one of my favorite scenes from the movie, but nonetheless, I hope you've enjoyed your brief tour of the museum and of Main Street in Yazoo City today, and have learned a little something about the history of Yazoo County and its importance to the state of Mississippi. And I really do hope that you will visit for yourself sometime. It'll be well worth the trip. And oh yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.